Everyone, and welcome to the SU Officer Results Night in 2021. We're your student media group, and over the next half hour, we'll be chatting all about the highlights and lowlights of the officer race this week. Kicking that off, I'm here with James Mitchell, our elections chair this year. And hi, James.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you. It was great to have you here. How have you found overseeing the elections process this year?
Well, it's been a lot different from most years in the fact that it's all been virtual instead. But overall, it's been a good, clean campaign, some fantastic points from either side. So no, it's been quite exciting. I'm excited to reveal the results shortly.
And it's been very different for candidates this year. James, me and you have both seen officer races for the last few years. How well do you think officers have adapted this year? What do you think the biggest changes that they've had to make have been?
I think we've seen them adapt really well to the new conditions, especially with the fact that it's a lot harder to reach out to students that you might otherwise meet on parade or in happy hour. So we've seen them really propel social media to the forefront. Lots of them have tried going down the advertising route, trying to get hold of candidates through any way they can. But I think it's been a lot more positive than in previous years as well. So it's been very heartening to watch and develop through the week.
Nice. No disrespect to previous candidates there. We love you all very much. Any TikTok highlights that we saw this week, James? I know that was a hot topic.
So this is a new concept for me, but I think Helene is very much the queen of the TikToks. And I particularly enjoyed her one zooming around Bath on the new scooters.
It was those scooters. I'm not sure the locals will be too happy seeing people abusing those scooters, known to be the new plague of Bath to everyone on the Moorland Road Facebook page. But not to us, we're quite welcoming of new scooters as we are all people in Bath, unlike that page. But yeah, being fascinating. I would say a personal highlight for me was Meg picking up her policies with a litter picker. The connotations of that, I'm not too sure, were brilliant, but we'll let her off. Yeah. What about any big policies this year, James? Did you have any personal favourites?
So we've seen a lot around no detriment in making sure that the Bath blend continues to work for everyone. It's obviously the hot topic. It's something that we've all experienced in the past year. So I think whoever wins, this will certainly be something that gets continued and driven forward as a major policy of the SU and the university. And
we saw lots of ambitious policies this year as well. We had the magicking up of a whole university app. We had a boat house, we had bike sheds, there was loads out there. James, what do you think was the most ambitious policy and dare we say most brave to commit to for any potential officer?
Well, I think we've seen with the sport candidates the issue of the 3G pitch come up again. And we know this has been the Achilles heel of many a sports officer in the past. So it's very interesting to see them still put this in, knowing that it very much is a poisoned chalice.
3G pitch, obviously a classic of the sport race now, probably much to the dismay of previous sport officers, but we caught up with Tom, current sport officer. How many times can I say sport officer in one session on the mic? Probably more. But yeah, we caught up with Tom earlier this week and he told us that we've now got sign off from the university, big tick there, and it's now all down to Bain. So those conversations currently happening now with Bain. So fingers crossed, maybe another 5 years, we'll get that 3G pitch. Who knows? But James, it's been brilliant to have you. We're going to keep you here for a little while, and obviously you'll be announcing the results later as well. Anything else you'd like to say to candidates generally before I hand over to Ben to chat through some of the races in focus?
I would just like to say to the candidates, congratulations for making it this far and putting so much work in. And really, it is you who makes this week so exciting and actually gives the edge to student democracy.
Brilliant. Thanks, James, and thanks for all your contributions this week as well. We will go to a quick holding screen now. That's all right, guys, backstage. And I'm going to hand over to Ben, and we are going to chat through the community and education races. So please stay tuned.
So we've got about 20 minutes before the results are announced, so we've got enough time to do a whistle-stop tour of some of the biggest issues and the campaigns in focus on each of the races. So James is still with us, and we're also joined by Mahisha from Bath Time, who will also be talking through the races with us. So to start off with, we'll be talking about the community race, which I think has personally been one of the most engaging campaigns of all. We've seen Meg and Helene really get involved in TikTok. So James, I know you talked about this with Glenn earlier, so let's just kind of go back over with a bit more detail in what happened in the community officer race.
So we've seen both of them really take to social media, this being the key way of reaching students in this COVID world. We've also seen them run various events, Meg doing some of her crafting and Helene doing a drawing class, which produced some somewhat interesting results. But throughout, we've sort of seen them trying to take the humorous aspect of elections to really sort of cut through amongst all of the day-to-day boring stuff from university. So I think this has had a lot of success. It's had a lot of engagement, and overall, it's likely to be a very close race. But no, this is one of my favourites, and I did enjoy looking every day and seeing what the two candidates had got up to.
Yeah, and to Mahisha now, what have your thoughts been on the community officer race this year?
Yeah, I agree. Like, this has been the most engaging part of the election, especially with the TikToks, because like I think it reached quite well. Because like I had people telling, "Oh my God, did you see the TikTok?" And especially like where we are all like far away, and then when we saw her like going at different places like in Bath and like endorsing her policies and like showing, it just made like, oh my God, you know, like I miss Bath because like it's been ages I've been there. So it was like a nice way to reach people, honestly. So that was a good way to engage with them. And like the policies, especially by Meg, is like one of like the most like unique policies I've seen. It's like a little different, not something I've seen before, but like considering I've not, you know, I'm just in my final year and I've only seen like the last 2 years election. This was a little different, like especially like expand #NeverOK campaign to like more forms of abuse into like toxic friendships and relationships. This is something like no one talks about. So I found that like super interesting. And like even with like Helen, like, you know, how about like mental health and like check-in calls and like communication with private landlords, and even like redoing the Freshers Week for 2020 freshers, like all those, like, you know, it was very like different policies. So I found it like, you know, unique. So this was definitely one of the elections which stood out for me.
Yeah, and Freshers Week was one of the hottest topics of the community race, and yeah, there was a lot of discussion between the two candidates about that. James, what did you think about the Freshers Week debate?
So I think they very much got to balance ambition with reality here. So no shortage of wanting to include everyone, but when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of actually organising it, it could be a different question. So we'll have to see whether voters thought that the ambition was feasible and worth their vote, or whether they took it as being too ambitious and therefore unrealistic.
Yeah, and ambition's been a feature of another race in this year's officer races. Education is the next role that we're going to be looking at, and there's been a lot of ambition in education races previously with trying to get lecturers to record all their lectures. Well, it's happened, so the questions have all been about where we go from here. So Mahisha, what have you been thinking about the education officer candidates and what they've been proposing?
I think the education race was like, they mostly used like Facebook and Instagram to promote, which was pretty, you know, common. And I think like one of the things which stood out was especially the candidate Ben Davis. Like he had a very catchy slogan, and I thought that was very smart, because usually when you see a slogan, that's like the first thing which catches your attention, right? So he had this back big Ben, so that was very creative from his side. But like he also had like creative visuals and creative ways of engaging with them. So like baking and like answering their questions. I thought that was really unique. And on the other hand, Jacob also, like, you know, he also like promoted it really well, because like he put up memes, and I found it very funny because like memes are the best way to reach your people. I mean, it's the most popular thing. So he made like a High School Musical references to like show what policies he's working on. And he also made like a testimonial video where like he included all his friends, I'm assuming. So like and like all of them told him why they felt he is a suitable candidacy. And like that was like really I found it was very unique, because like, you know, sometimes hearing from that person, if you hear it from like other people, you're gonna like more likely, you know, believe and trust them. So that was very creative as well. And yeah, back to you.
Yeah, so memes and more have been the features of an education officer race, with universal reading weeks and expanded no detriment policies. James, what has been your take on the education officer race?
So I think we've had two really strong candidates here, evidenced in their performance during questions to candidates. It could have gone on all night, and I'm sure they'll take the opportunity to debate each other at some point. But we've also seen the lighter-hearted side of their campaigns, with Ben doing a fantastic job baking flapjacks live. And I think that we should also note that Ben is only in his second year at university, and for him to put himself forward so early in his university life is really impressive and testament to all the work that he's done so far. But Jacob himself, he's had a really solid manifesto, he's had some good graphics. So really, this is the one I'm most excited to see the result of.
Yeah, and we'll be seeing the results of these elections in about 15 minutes time. So we're going to go for another short break now, where we're going to give James a bit of rest before he has the big task of announcing the results. And Glenn will be joining us again, and we will be discussing the other three races. So we are now joined by Glenn, and we've got the other three races to be featured now, and we're going to be starting off this round with the postgraduate officer race. I've not personally paid too much attention to this race, but I know you have, Glenn. So what have you been thinking about the postgraduate officers?
You really put me on the spot there, Ben. I'm just going to pop those off. But yeah, postgrad's been really interesting this year. In most of the years, we typically see between 4, 6, I think we had 7 candidates one year for postgraduate. It tends to be a really popular race. So this year it was really quite refreshing to see just 2 candidates get down to the real kind of brass tacks of the issues, dig down deep and have a really good debate as well. I think it was, as it typically is, to be honest, one of the calmer, more relaxed. You know, you can guarantee that the postgraduate race is just going to be a positive, uplifting competition. This year we saw the candidates. We had, I think it was Sid who proposed a multilingual guidebook to Bath for different international students. I've got a cease nodding head from behind the desk. That's really great that reassurance, because I've read a lot of manifestos this week. But Sid leading with that policy very much, and Tony coming up with it again, a kind of focus on international students. 30% of postgraduates are international, so quite an important segment there, and both candidates doing really well to appeal to those groups.
Yeah, so Mahesh, have you got anything to add to this quite positive campaign?
Like I said, this is one thing I've not also been keeping up, but I have read upon it a bit. So like I said, I think like both the candidates are like well experienced, and they have their own backgrounds, which is like from, you know, with like strong depths and expertise. And from what I see is like Tony has like really good policies, which you know, he focuses on like diversity, environment, and career development, which is like super important for postgraduates, because, you know, it's like the they have to like focus on it after once they graduate. So it's quite it's really nice to see him like working on that. And another thing which like stood out to me is the fact that he wants to set up a pre-semester program for newly taught postgraduates to familiarize themselves into university quickly. So I thought that was really creative, because I've not seen anything of that sort in Bath. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it's something which it can be easily enforceable. So that's one thing. And on the other hand, Sid's like a little it's been focused on like basic things such as sustainability and healthy mind, but there's not much into important aspects like career development or diversity. So I thought, he does like, there is a bit of shortcomings in his manifesto, in my opinion. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so I think we've still got time to discuss the next two races that we haven't covered yet, and we're going to move on to the sports officer race now. Now, this is the one that I've pretty much been attached to for the last week. I've done the interviews to the candidates, I've written up their manifestos, and was part of the vodcast with Tom yesterday discussing the sports officer race. It's been quite a static race, it hasn't moved on too much. But it has been very focused on certain issues like environment and facilities. So, Glenn, what was your take on the sports officer race?
Now, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not particularly a massively sporty guy, but tried my best to commentate on this, and it ended up stuck on that podcast yesterday with Tom as well. It's a really interesting area, obviously a massive focus for Bath and our SU as well. We are a sports university. I only found out that was the case after I showed up, otherwise it might have put me off. But anyway, a really interesting race, important for everyone else. Facilities, I think we discussed yesterday, is a big issue. Some big spending plans coming from the candidates, which is quite bold considering the financial position we're in at the minute, but still obviously really important to students. So I think we had there Elizabeth hoping for a boathouse and a 3G pitch as well. Both candidates are big on that 3G pitch, as we said before. And the name of the other candidate was Chris, and Chris was after some bike sheds, which we heard are actually already in the works by the SU. So well done there, Chris. Got one of your policy points out of the way before you even got the job. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, it'll be pretty easy to deliver on the bike repair huts, maybe not so much on the boathouse. Manish, what have you been thinking about the sports officer race over the past week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite similar to what Glenn said. I've not been keeping up well with the sports too, but once again, I've read upon it, and I think like it's really nice because like both their manifestos are very strong and very solid, and all of them, they're mainly focusing on facilities and on welfare and inclusivity, because sports is all about being included and being involved, right? And I see both of them making important policies to enforce that. So especially for Elizabeth, like she's put in policies so that even despite COVID-19 situation, people can still enjoy sports, and I think that's really a creative way to go about it. But yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, well, I've been looking at the sports campaign in quite a bit of focus, and yeah, we've had Instagram campaigns which have looked very professional, and yeah, they've been pretty well rehearsed. They know what their attack lines are, they know what they want to do, and we'll look forward to seeing if the successful candidate can implement them. So finally, as we've got a bit of time for it, we'll be looking at the president race, which exploded a bit yesterday. But yeah, so we've had 3 candidates. It's the only race where we've had more than 2 candidates, and it's been a really, really big race. I know, Glenn, you wrote the manifesto review up for this one, so you're probably in the best position to talk about what's been happening.
Yeah, so it was fascinating, this one, and we had 3 really strong candidates. I interviewed them all before election started, and I honestly couldn't have called it then, and I wouldn't like to hazard a guess at calling it now. It's been a really interesting race. We had Annie, the incumbent officer, who's been education officer, obviously through a really tough period for the SU and the university, and Annie led with promises to kind of hold the university to account. There was the university app, which I criticised as a bold move, that to create a university app that captures everything that we want. If Annie is elected, and if that's seen through, then kudos to her. But I wouldn't be putting any money on it. But fingers crossed. And there was loads there as well. Annie's manifesto really grounded in fact and experience. We then had Rochelle bringing forward a more focused, narrow campaign, focused on issues around community, mental health and representation as well. Really strong to see strong, stories and just Rochelle's personality and passion really came through their campaign, and that was brilliant to see. Kamakshi, a little bit quiet through campaign week, but again showed up really well at the start through some of those, the SU organised events, our interviews, questions to candidates. Again, slightly more focused than Annie's, but slightly broader than Rochelle's as well, somewhere in the middle. Did a really good job. Education focused, talking about getting staff to work a heck of a lot harder, which I'm a bit of a fan of, to be honest. Always like to see that. Ambitious, because they tend not to like doing that, but who knows. And then a little bit of chat about mental health as well, which is always good to see.
Yeah, so any final thoughts from you, Mahisha, just before we announce the results on this multifaceted race for president?
Yeah, so I think in terms of president, Annie's manifesto really reflected the strong experience and knowledge she's gained, especially considering that she's had a lot of previous experience and knowledge in with the university itself. So I really loved how she focused on all the aspects which is required as to focus on as a president. So hers was like the most solid out of all, and like other candidates like Rochelle, I think I loved how she focused on inclusivity and especially the non-detriment policy, which is like something everyone's really worried about. So I'm glad that she's focusing on it so that the future and like the upcoming years, they don't really have to worry about it as much as we did. So and Kamakshi shows a lot of leadership potential from her background experience, as she stated. So even though she's from an international background, I can see that she's had a lot of experience and strong leadership skills. So especially with the academic enhancement policies, which are really strong. So yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed our quick roundup of some of the races that have been happening for the SU president and PG and sport and community and education races. And we're just a couple of moments away from announcing the results, so please stick with us and we'll be back in about 2 minutes where James is going to be announcing the all-important results.
Hello and welcome to the announcement of results for the NUS affiliation referendum and officer elections. My name is James Mitchell and I am the chair of Elections Committee. Just a reminder that if you require closed captions, please activate them on Teams. You will also be able to re-watch this later online. Campaigning this year has been like any other, with activities happening exclusively online, and candidates finding new ways to engage with the student electorate. Whilst it may have had its challenges, we have been impressed by the ingenuity and creativity of those running campaigns. Without further ado, it's time to move on to the results of the referendum. The question was as follows: should the SU Bath be affiliated with the National Union of Students UK, or NUS UK? The votes have been counted and verified with a total of 1,173 ballots cast. The referendum is therefore quorate. I can hereby confirm that 753 votes were cast in favour of yes, 342 votes were cast in favour of no, and there were 78 abstentions. The motion is carried, meaning the SU will remain affiliated to NUS UK. The votes in the officer elections have been counted and verified and will now be announced. 3,783 students voted, representing 18% of the student electorate. This means that through our Plant Your Vote campaign, a badger will be adopted, 378 trees will be planted, and an animal at Bath City Farm will be adopted. The candidates for Community Officer are Helene Mays and Meg Crossman. 3,282 votes were cast. After the first round of voting, Meg received 1,777 votes. Helene received 1,406 votes, and reopened nominations received 99 votes. Meg Crossman is therefore duly elected Community Officer. She can now join us to say a few words.
Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who voted, all of my campaign team, you're amazing, but the biggest thank you to everyone on the Elections Committee who have just made this whole process so much less daunting, and to Helene who ran an amazing campaign.
Thank you and congratulations, Meg. The candidates for Education Officer are Ben Davis and Jacob Withington. 3,052 votes were cast. After the first round of voting, Jacob received 2,215 votes, Ben received 708 votes, and reopened nominations received 129 votes. Jacob Withington is therefore duly elected Education Officer. He can now join us to say a few words.
I just want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who voted. I look forward to getting my manifesto done and all the policies. Thank you to my campaign team so much. And thank you to Ben. It's a very good campaign against you. I'd like to have a chat as well and take on some of your points. Thank you all.
Congratulations. The candidates for Postgraduate Officer are Sid Singh and Tony Chung. 2,527 votes were cast. After the first round of voting, Sid received 1,379 votes. Tony received 987 votes, and reopened nominations received 161 votes. Sid Singh is therefore duly elected Postgraduate Officer. He can now join us on the line.
Thank you everyone for those of you who have voted, and thank you to all of my campaign team and especially the election committee for supporting us through this. Thank you. Thank you everybody.
Well done, Sid. And now on to the Sport Officer. The candidates for Sport Officer are Chris Morgan Smith and Elizabeth Stacey. 3,027 votes were cast. After the first round of voting, Elizabeth received 1,699 votes, Chris received 1,225 votes, and reopened nominations received 103 votes. Elizabeth Stacey is therefore duly elected Sport Officer. She can now join us to say a few words.
Hi, Thank you to all of my campaign and my friends for sharing all of my content, and thank you for all the support given over the last few weeks. Yeah, it's just been amazing.
Brilliant. Congratulations again. And now on to the final position. The candidates for SU President are Annie Willingham, Kamakshi Kandawal and Rochelle Wabissa. 3,318 votes were cast. After the first round of voting, Annie received 1,837 votes. Rochelle received 1,030 votes. Kamakshi received 336 votes, and reopened nominations received 115 votes. Annie Willingham is therefore duly elected SU President. She can now join us to say a few words.
I have to say a massive thank you to everybody who voted, to Rochelle and Kamachi for doing such an incredible campaign. You've been such positive people to run a campaign against alongside, and it's been absolutely incredible. Sorry, I'm a bit lost for words, as can you probably imagine. But especially to my campaign team, who, although we've not been together and we've done this whole event virtually, you've been there every single step of the way, whether it's been me messaging at 3 AM, asking for advice, or asking you to do some random things for a music video. So thank you very much, and to all the students, I'm very excited for the next year.
Thank you. So now a big congratulations go to our new officer team for 2021 to 2022. Jacob, Annie, Sid, Meg and Elizabeth. Well done to you all. As you may have noticed, there were no candidates for activities officer, so this position will be decided in a by-election. Nominations will open on the 26th of March and close on the 12th of April. Make sure to get yours in. A big thanks again go to all of the candidates who ran, everyone working behind the scenes to run the election, and to all of you who voted. It's goodbye from me, but stay tuned as I hand over to student media for interviews with the new officer team.
So big, massive congratulations to Annie, Sid, Elizabeth, and Meg, and Jacob. If you could all put your cameras on right now, that would be helpful because we're now going to be interviewing all of you on your successful campaigns. So thanks very much for putting your cameras on. This kind of goes out to all of you. We'll see who responds fastest to it. So how does it feel now that you've won your race?
I'm happy to go. It feels really good because I really want to get all the stuff done in my manifesto, improve education for everyone. So I'm really glad, and it's all over. And thank you.
I'm happy to jump in if not. I feel it's like very strange feeling. It's been, I think everyone who's running this election can say that an online campaign is extremely difficult. You can't tell or gauge any interest on who is voting or what more you need to be doing. And I mean, the standard of all the campaigns was very, very impressive. And I'm just very excited to hopefully we get into a post-COVID back to campus, and with this team we'll be able to make the new experience great, and I'm just really excited.
Yeah, I really agree with Annie. Like, I'm so absolutely over the moon, and like Chris had such a strong campaign and strong manifesto that I am so pleased. I did all I could, and I'm just so happy that I got elected. So thank you all.
Yeah, it feels great to win, and I look forward to working with all of you guys. And like the memes were so fun, the whole campaigning was so fun, especially Jacob's memes. I like them a lot. So it was a great week. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think putting yourself out there is absolutely terrifying, and to everyone who's done it this year, it's so brave, and everyone ran fantastic campaigns. And yeah, I just think everyone should be so proud of themselves. But yeah, it does feel a little bit surreal, not being able to do this in a happy hour, but it's very exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, so well done. And do you have any messages to your supporters who have been helping you out with your campaigns over this week? We'll just start off with Annie.
To the people who supported me, like, thank you for the random messages that people sent. That I know it takes a lot for a student just to pop up out of the blue and just send a message, but it means the world, and it's in those moments of like bit of self-doubt, getting a message from a random student who might have heard you in a lecture shout out or might have just seen something you posted on Instagram means so much. And I do think that we've learned so much about how we can communicate on platforms like Instagram, and just different platforms that help the information that we have become accessible to students, that hopefully we can keep that next year going forward.
Yeah, wonderful. And Meg, next.
I mean, I'm kind of heartbroken that I won't be able to put any more memes up or dog photos, but yeah, I think I think just a massive thank you to everyone, as Annie was saying, who sent a message out of the blue. It really, like, it's a whirlwind campaigning, and it was an emotional roller coaster, and it was in those times of self-doubt where having like the messages from people saying that they supported your campaign and they voted for you really does pick you up massively. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone who supported us.
Fantastic. And Elizabeth?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I had some messages from people that I really didn't know. I had a post on LinkedIn dedicated to me at one point, and the response of it was absolutely incredible. Like, I was absolutely astounded. People were so pleased that I was a woman running for sports officer, and I was absolutely over the moon with the response that I received. And my campaign team, thank you so much for all that you've done. Like, it's just been a whirlwind of an experience, really. So yeah, thank you to everyone.
Yeah, and then to Sid.
Yeah, I completely agree with Annie, because I also got a lot of messages on Instagram from random people about like, I voted for you and like best of luck. So I was quite happy with that. And also a huge thanks to my campaign team, and my friends, my flatmates who personally texted their friends to vote. And like, they totally went for it. So it's all because of them. Yeah.
And then finally, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you so much to everyone who voted. It is really hard, like the others have said, to know online whether you're actually getting the message out of what you want to do and what you stand for, who you are. But so it's been really supportive to get messages back. I think we're a bit lost as to what we're going to do in the evenings. Now we haven't got an excuse to make memes and puns. But yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, and obviously, congratulations for now, but the hard work starts here. So the next question for all of you is, what are you most looking forward to next year in implementing your policies and your manifestos? So we'll start off with Meg.
Oh, so many things. I think just, yeah, being able to work on the issues in my manifesto, which I hope came across how passionate I am about them. I think there are a lot of gaps in support, and I'm really hoping to address them, particularly around the campaign around unhealthy relationships. I'm so excited to address those gaps. But yeah, so much.
Yeah, do you feel confident that you're going to be able to complete everything?
Definitely going to give it a go. 100%, yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can do, and that's going to be fantastic to watch your progress as community officer over the next year. So the same similar thing goes to Sid now. What are you looking forward to next year?
Yeah, I'll try to do everything on my manifesto. Especially, I want to, bring the whole postgrad and undergrad community together, because there might be a difference, and I want to connect each and every one of them. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I hope I can do all of what I promised. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the return to sport to start. So just making sure that the return to sport is really safe, sociable, and really fun for everyone, and just bear in mind everyone's mental health and make sure that it's really inclusive. So yeah, I'm just really excited to get started.
Yeah, and going forward, in your manifesto, you've committed to the 3G and Boathouse progress. Do you think that that's going to be possible by the end of the year? I definitely think the 3G is a possibility, especially now that we've got the buy-in from the university. I also think the Boathouse is an ongoing project, maybe not for this year, but just continue the growth that is happening at the moment. Yeah, and then Jacob, how are you feeling about being education officer for the next year and going forward?
Yeah, I'm really excited to sort of apply what we've learned from this year as to what works well in education, and what needs to be improved, and transitioning from this back blend COVID-ness to whatever the future brings. And a lot of my, I look forward to getting all of them done, and most of them I've checked the feasibility, so I hope that most of it can all be done.
Yeah, and that'll be fantastic with education, because we do need a lot of progress after where we go from here from COVID. So where do you think that education is going to look like at the end of the next year?
I think to a degree it will stay blended, because we've seen that online can work really well, such as pre-recorded lectures in many areas. I know for me, I didn't realise how little I was learning before in the in-person lectures. So I think we're just going to get more of a blended method, but with a lot more in person than we've currently got, to make sure that it works best overall.
Yeah, and hopefully everyone is up for a good year of learning next year. And then finally, the one candidate left that we haven't asked this question to yet is Annie. What are you most looking forward to next year?
I'm really looking forward to hopefully the post-COVID return, working with this fantastic team. All their manifestos were absolutely excellent. I think whatever is thrown our way next year, which hopefully isn't another global pandemic, we will be tackling head on, and with students at the forefront of every decision. And I think that's probably one of the things I'm most looking forward to, is just what challenges alongside the projects we want to do in our manifesto we get given.
Yeah, and one of the cornerstones of your manifesto was the app. How confident do you think that the app will be done by the end of next year?
I think, I back that manifesto point. I think we have to have confidence in whatever we put in our manifesto, which is why it's there. If we don't start getting the ball rolling, then it will never start. So I think it's now conversations to, as soon as we're in our new posts or in our posts in the summer, start having those conversations, and it's a project that needs to happen soon. So let's give it our best go and see where we end up.
Yeah, and obviously congratulations again. How do you think you'll be celebrating tonight with your flatmates? Just having a nice drink?
Yeah, I think so, with friends and like all the campaign team and everything. Yeah.
And that goes out to everyone as well. So yeah.
I mean, I think our options are quite limited this year. But I will be having a nice time with my housemates.
Yeah, mine will be with my housemates too.
Likewise.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I bought a
sure, we're
cider.
all used to having parties with our housemates and yeah, getting on with them and having a nice social time. Have they been supporting you throughout the campaign as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, mine have been on my campaign team, so they've been extremely supportive in actually doing the campaign and well-being work is to make sure you're okay each day. It's really useful.
Excellent. Well, I think that we'll be wrapping it up there for today. So, oh, no, we've got a quick thing from James now.
I would just like to finish by saying a huge thank you to all of those at Student Media, those from Bath Time, URB and Campus TV for both hosting tonight. Thank you to Ben for setting this whole studio up under COVID secure conditions as well, and generally for keeping the whole week going and getting the excitement built around it. So big congratulations to all of them. And with that, it's time to say goodbye from Ben.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from me, and goodbye from all of us here at the SU. Good night.